Welcome back, everybody, to another special episode of the Every Pokemon Episode Ever podcast. I am one of your hosts this week, Wrestling Chris G, and on the other line with me is the man with all the power. It's good old Dougie Fresh. Dougie, my man, how you doing?
I'm doing all right.
How do you like your nickname?
I don't agree with it because if I had all the power, you wouldn't have a lot of purpose. Because if I had all the power, I wouldn't need a co-host.
Oh, well, my psychic brother.
You always come up with a better one when we're running. Oh, it never fails.
On the other line with me this week is my psychic brother, good old Dougie Fresh. Dougie, my man, how you doing?
Never failed.
So today, everybody, is a special Christmas treat, as we've been promising and leading up to for weeks on end now. Today is the review of Pokemon Mewtwo Returns. And this is basically a direct sequel to Pokemon Mewtwo Strikes Back. And this movie was released, well, this special, I'm not going to call it a movie. This special was released during the 4th season of Pokemon Johto League Champions. But you wouldn't know that by everything that's happening in this movie. Like, you can literally watch Mewtwo Strikes Back and then watch Mewtwo Returns and be completely content with these back-to-backs because it has nothing to do with the series until way into the future, Doug.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a sequel episode. They definitely exist. I mean, obviously, Mewtwo Returns does a good job of kind of fading him into the universe. But, like, you know, there's no hint that, oh, you know, our heroes are coming from X and X. I mean, yeah, obviously they're going to a place which is, you know, convenient for the plot of the movie, but that's about it.
And they actually never mention anything about Johto in this movie. Well, special.
I think the name Johto is mentioned one time. Maybe like 45 minutes in at some point.
Just that off key. Okay, we are here.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm gonna call it a movie because I mean it went straight to VHS DVD. However, people ended up watching it back in 2001. But this movie was not directly introduced on TV. So
not for us. No, I mean it was on TV, I believe in Japan, but that was about it. Otherwise, it was.
Yes, it was released in Japan around right before the new year of 2021. I mean, not 21. Wow, of 2001 in Japan. So it got a TV release out there, but it did not get a TV release out here in the UK and in Australia. It was released on VHS and DVD for us. And unbeknownst to me, because they didn't advertise this shit, at least I didn't see it on TV because I was a huge Pokemon fan around this time frame. Doug, I I'm kind of upset that I didn't see this sequel at all, like as a child. Like I feel like I would have loved this movie, or at least would have rented it from Blockbuster or found a way to watch it. But I had no idea this thing even existed.
Well, I didn't even know, following on to your, not knowing it existed, I didn't know it existed until I was doing a bit of digging to find a copy of the first movie to watch because it was either, I found, it was either the first movie or this is what I kept running across. And I think at one point I said, I think you reached out originally and were like, maybe this is something we should keep in our back pocket for a movie. I think we started talking about it in the summer. Because I kept running into it.
Yeah.
And the only reason it was confusing is because the movie and this basically start the same way.
It confuses the mess out of you. Like one's just a recap, and the other is the actual start to the damn Mewtwo Strikes Back.
Right.
So, and I hope everybody out there is going to watch this along with us, because or you were able to find a version to watch this through, because this movie is actually very captivating. If you like Pokemon battles, if you like action, because you're a damn Pokemon fan, this is a movie for you, right?
It was good. I was not, well, I had hopes for it because I do like, I have a soft spot for the Kanto Johto stuff. So I was like, oh, and obviously this was the first time, sitting down watching it. And yeah, this was good.
This was fun.
Left me wanting more.
So, with that being said, I'm not going to tell everybody how, and we're not going to reveal it. But as of today, we're recording this on November 10th, 2021, and I've gotten my hands on a copy of Pokemon Brilliant um, Brilliant
Brilliant Diamond, isn't it? Brilliant
Diamond.
Diamond and Shining
Yeah,
Pearl.
yeah, Brilliant Diamond. There you go. I was about to say Brilliant Pearl, but no. Yeah, I got my hands on Brilliant Diamond.
Oh, I know why we're not talking about it.
Yes. So and I've been playing it, and the game. Obviously, you're listening to this podcast. The game's already out, but as of today, the game's not out yet. But I did get my hands on a copy of the game, and I'm playing around with it. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little disappointed so far. Like, why why does my character in this game have such a big head and a small body, and then when he goes into freaking battle in the Pokemon like battles, and he's throwing a Pokeball, he's human size. Like I don't like I get it. I don't really like the music all that well right now. I know there's an update that's getting ready to come out on release date, which is going to change up a lot of the music that's in the game. But as of right now, I'm not too big of a fan. I am interested in playing this game through because I don't think I ever actually beat Diamond and Pearl. Did you ever end up playing Diamond and Pearl as a child, Doug?
Oh no, I stopped at Fire Red and Leaf Green, I think.
Okay. So yeah, you must have played Red and Blue, Gold and Silver, Ruby and Sapphire, and Fire Red and Leaf Green is what I'm
Yeah,
guessing you got up to. Okay,
yeah. And the last one I seriously played was Ruby and Sapphire.
gotcha. Okay. So so at any point, if you do end up getting a Nintendo Switch at some point, are you going to do you have any interest in actually playing like the Let's Go Pikachu, the um Diamond and Pearl version, or Sword and Shield? Do you have any interest in actually playing those games?
I mean, if I get a Switch, I mean, I don't see why I wouldn't at least try to at least dip my toe back in. But getting a Switch in itself isn't exactly
Easy.
high on my well, not easy, but high on my priority list.
Yes. So, and all right. With that being said, but yeah, I'm playing Brilliant Diamond. I'm never gonna get used to saying that. And just found out yesterday that I have a reserve for the Legends Arceus version, and it's completely paid off, and completely forgot that I even reserved that. So that was a nice little shocker for me. So I was like, oh, I did reserve this. Oh, it's paid off. I don't owe any money on it. Okay.
So obviously you're gonna pick it up. It's not like you shipped it to home or anything.
Yeah, I still got to pick it up from
Yeah,
GameStop right
see.
down the road from my home. Um, I actually purchased the bundle pack for Diamond and Pearl for the Switch also. So I will be going there and picking that up. Apparently, it comes with the version I got comes with like 200 free Pokeballs and a couple extra things once you punch in the little nice code that they give you for this game.
Right.
So I'm looking forward to that. And my son already is already bugging me to play the Brilliant Diamond version. He's like, you already got it. He's like, just let me play it. And I was like, yeah. I was like, I might. So we'll see. But before we get into the dates, I do want to forewarn people I'm doing something different this week. And as I alluded to Doug off air, I'm tired of all these damn Pokemon packs being inside of my home unopened because they're literally just sitting and like they're sitting nicely. But I literally have over like 300 unopened packs of Pokemon cards in my home. So it's at this point that today, special for this movie, everybody, I'm going to open 3 packs. They're Sword and Shield Darkness Ablaze packs that I just had sitting upstairs. I know these are not the newest ones. I did want to open up the new one. I have the booster box of the Fusion Strikes coming to the home tomorrow. But obviously, we're recording this on the 10th. Those won't be here until the 11th, so I'm not able to get those and open those in time for me to do that because I don't want to have to cut and edit in an extra opening session. So today, you're just going to get 3 Darkness Ablaze packs, and hopefully, I get some type of hit at the end of this movie today. So you ready, Doug, to get on into
Yup.
our date? Oh, what's up?
Yup. I said yup.
All right. So my date happened in 1991. So am I going first or second this week, Doug?
Well,
Because
I'm going first. Yeah, no,
okay.
I'm going for it. I was trying to kind of no. Either way,
So we're doing things different this week, everybody. When it
yes.
comes
Why are we doing things different?
because I couldn't find anything jack shit for the American date because it was December 4th. So this movie was released in Japan on March 21st, 2001, and was released here in the States on direct to video on December 4th. So 2001, everybody. And wow, people in the UK didn't get this until February 11th, 2002.
No, it's just
So,
a couple months at that point.
well, from the release date of Japan up until so this was remember this was released March 1st. Let's see. No, it was released on TV in Japan on December 30th, 2000, and it was released
2000.
on VHS and DVD on March 21st. So that's the one that I'm going with is the release date of the DVD. And then here it was released direct to video on December 4th here in the States. And then in Australia, August 17th, 2001. and then the UK February 11th, 2002. This really had no canon to like any type of structure at all. Freaking December 30th, 2000 in Japan. Then later on, about 3 months later, it was released on VHS and DVD. And then a couple months later, it was released in Australia. And then it was released later here in the States in December 4th, 2001. And then way later in the UK on February 11th. Wow, this had no structure. Like this has 4 different dates that this thing has been released, and I'm just now putting 2 and 2 together. But one thing I want to tell everybody that I guess I'm glad I'm reading this now, because we kind of came over this before we were actually going to do this review. There's 10 minutes in the Japanese version of Mewtwo Strikes Back that got released in Japan after the Pikachu special, called The Uncut Story of Mewtwo's Origin, that we have never seen here. I'm going to try to find that clip, but it was not released here in the States, Doug, because it was deemed too dark and morse for the American G rating here in the States. Which is funny.
Well, you can't be shocking them kids, you know.
Apparently not. Apparently, people in Japan have thicker skins than us here in America. Well, I'm probably gonna have some viewers turn off as soon as I say this, but I'm just tired of how soft the world has gotten. Like, come on, like. There's a lot of things. I was watching Rocko's Modern Life last night, and it just showed me how much we didn't give a shit about anything back in the day when we used to watch things as kids. I'm watching this, and you got Rocko falling into a girl's cleavage and the girl going, "How dare you?" And then you got the devil and the whole 666 reference, and I even watched a thing where it looked like Rocko was on a damn sex hotline last night. I'm watching multiple episodes. I was like, oh geez. I was like, you can't show this today, but I'm watching it last night just going, man, the good old days of kid TV, of what we used to watch on Nickelodeon, and people didn't give a fuck.
Well, people don't care now. I mean, some of the shit that passes for reality television is just it's about 2 steps below porn at this point.
For real. But I'm talking about things that got like a G rating that we used to watch, like Doug. I don't think Doug was too risque. But like early Rugrats episodes, freaking Rocko's Modern Life, like just people. Name another show that we watched as kids that probably wouldn't. Like, you got Real Monsters, just stuff that we can. Ren and Stimpy.
Well, Ren and Stimpy, I mean, that you kind of walk up against a line with that, because that almost wasn't meant to be a kid's cartoon in the first place.
but it came on Nickelodeon.
It did, but I think with a little bit of hindsight, I think people would have said, "Oh shoot, maybe we shouldn't be
showing this."
Yeah.
But okay, all right, we're getting really off topic, everybody. But I'm sure a lot of our listeners like listening to us ramble sometimes. But Doug, you are taking the American date of December 4th, and I am going to take the Japan DVD release date of March 21st. But you're going first this week. So what do you have for us this week?
So on this date, the proper American date of December 4th in the year of our Lord 1943, the Commissioner of Baseball officially allows any Major League Baseball club to sign African American players.
Really?
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. What year was this?
43.
1940. Okay. So, well, damn. Okay. Um, that's huge. Number one, I didn't know. Wow.
So the order was given in 43, and obviously Jackie Robinson didn't officially break the major league color barrier until 47. Um, he signed in minor league ball and played for Montreal in like 45. But and obviously, you had the Negro leagues before that. And let's see, they ran about the 20s. They ran until 66.
Okay.
Which is not something that I knew before I started doing a little bit of digging at the beginning of the week in an effort of trying to find a date. So, yeah, and then, just recently, let's see, I want to say like last year, so like 2020, they just started integrating Negro League statistics into the history of Major League Baseball. So they kind of had to refigure some record books.
All right. Well, as I stated, everybody, I'm doing the Japanese DVD release date of March 21st. And on this date in 1991, we have New Japan Pro Wrestling Starrcade 91, which was in the Tokyo Dome. And it headlined, sorry, everybody, it headlined with Tatsumi Fujinami and Ric Flair, where Tatsumi Fujinami defeated Ric Flair for the NWA Wrestling Championship, which Ric Flair ended up getting back. I believe it was Super Brawl later that year on WCW.
Yeah, it was a couple months later.
So, but yeah, mine's not as deep, but I just happened to be scrolling down and I was like, ooh, Ric Flair. I was like, we don't talk that much wrestling on here, so I'm going to go ahead and throw that statistic up there. So, all right. Well, after these dates, Doug, are you ready to jump on into this movie?
Yes.
All right. So, the beginning of this movie is literally a full entire recap of it's Mewtwo Strikes Back in like 4 minutes.
Right.
Like literally, like you have Mewtwo talking about him being born, opening his eyes, being alongside Giovanni, and then from the Giovanni segment to him getting away from him, creating his own island, getting all of these clone Pokemon, inviting all these top trainers over. And yes, I am doing this kind of fast because we did a whole review on this movie. If you want to hear in depth of the Mewtwo Strikes Back, so go back in our archive. It's an excellent review, everybody. All these clone Pokemon battling the real Pokemon. Ash getting killed and turned into a stone, which then ended up turning Mewtwo into a good guy and having compassion for Pokemon trainers.
Humanity.
Humanity. And at that point, at the end of the movie, telling us that he did wipe the memories of everybody that was on that island. And we go and we fast forward all the way to the beginning of the actual special with Giovanni with his assistant right next to him in front of a huge big screen. Like this thing is so advanced. Like I love Team Rocket's technology, Doug.
Right, and it kind of makes you chuckle, seeing what Team Rocket really has, and then you look at our representation of Team Rocket with a rinky-dink hot air balloon, and you go, something doesn't add up here.
They make reference to that in this movie. But I love that one liner by Meow. But and so at the beginning of this movie, Giovanni is basically like, so what did you call me up here for? And his assistant goes in to start talking about, she said, we've been doing our research and we've been doing a scan of this island. And what I'm about to show you is a live scan of this island. But what I really want you to focus on is what we zoom into. And she's like, keep watching, because Giovanni seems like he's getting a little impatient. And then he kind of jumps out of his seat a little bit at the fuzziness of the video, but they keep zooming in and they zoom in and they zoom in. And Giovanni realizes that they have found Mewtwo. And he's like, I found you. And it's just a fuzzy view of Mewtwo. And then we go straight from that to basically our opening of the Pokemon Adventure. Doug, if you want to go over this beginning part of this movie.
So we basically get a little bit of a monologue from Mewtwo talking about the beauty of his surroundings, and he's talking about because one of the first line he says is this place is beautiful, but do I have any right to judge the world and its beauty? And because he's still conflicted about being a copy.
Yes. He doesn't know if he belongs in this world. So he's still conflicted. And oh, sorry. You can
and
go.
As the shot is panning out, so we've got like this beautiful sun about to crest behind the mountains, and it's panning out, and you see that Mewtwo's got a line of what we can assume to be clone Pokemon behind him. We can see that a Meowth and a Pikachu are in front of the line of they've kind of got like a 1A 1B kind of scenario.
Yeah, these are literally the Pokemon that he had made clones of that we saw in Mewtwo Strikes Back. Like you literally get to see, like, you see the same Blastoise, Venusaur.
Charizard's got the markings on his head.
Yeah, like you got the clone Meowth from Team Rocket and the Pikachu, Ash's Pikachu.
Right. And basically, Mewtwo's still kind of given a kind of a recap. He and the Pokemon standing behind him are clones, and they live in secret. What is he? Because he has a really good line before we go to the title.
He says, "For if we do not live in secret, if we do not live in secret, we shall never live in peace."
Hunting Wabbits. But yeah, no, I really like that line before we go to the title screen. And
it's a nice title screen because we get like a big like vision of a Pokeball, and then it goes like Mewtwo returns.
I was a little disappointed we didn't get like an original song, but I mean, beggars can't be choosers for an hour.
Yeah.
And then we are thrown right into what you wouldn't be mistaken if you just assumed would be just a normal adventure. We have Ash, Brock, and Misty walking down a path.
Oh, and they do, and right here is where they talk about the Johto region. So yes, the narrator actually says, as they approach an intriguing landmark in the far reaches of the Johto region. So we have Ash, Brock, and Misty walking on this trail. So no Tracy. So this must be after Tracy goes back to Professor Oak.
Yeah, it has to be.
Yes. So from here, we see Ash, Misty, and Brock. They come up to this really large rock mountain, and they're looking at it. And they're like, "This must be it," and that must be Purity Canyon, the Johto region's greatest natural wonder. And from here, Brock is kind of educating us. He's like, "Yeah," he's like, "but it's practically impossible to get to." So, and it looks like there's a bus that ends up going up to Purity Canyon, but the bus only goes up there once per month due to the type of weather that comes with going up there, and that the weather is really bad, and the weather only gets good like once or twice per month in order for them to be able to travel up there. And Ash is like, okay, so when does the bus end up coming if it only comes here once a month? And of course, with it being a kid's cartoon, Brock is like, oh, the bus is here today.
Yeah. I mean, far be it for us to be entertained and say, oh, the bus doesn't come here till Friday. No, today, just as luck would have it, pull our thumb out of our ass and lucked into that one. So we find out that the bus is coming today, and Brock says it should be about around lunchtime. But he's like, unfortunately, we won't be able to go. And Ash is kind of taken aback. He's like, well, why not? And Brock's like, well, I was fixing to try this new recipe for spicy pizza pancakes for lunch, and
Ash immediately starts to water at the mouth, literally.
Because I think he was going to say, oh, we can come back next month. But Misty kind of immediately snaps him out of it. And he's like, look, she's like, look, that's the bus. And we see the bus, I believe, making its way probably to the stop. Because, well, yeah, basically. And Ash is like, well, we got to take off and try to catch it. And as soon as they start moving forward, the clouds start rolling in, and it starts to downpour.
Of course.
And they are booking it. And Brock is an idiot. First of all, I mean, he's about to be really funny, like stupid but really funny. But he's an idiot because he's in a rainstorm carrying a metal goddamn frying pan.
He's like, I'll use this trusty frying pan as a drying pan. And he puts the pan literally over his head after his head is already drenched in water, might I add. So it's not doing him any more good than just stopping some of the rain from clamping on top of his head anymore. But he literally puts it on top of his head, and they just start running. And this is when we get introduced to Team Rocket at the beginning of, or for the first time in this movie. And Team Rocket is looking over at them just running in this rain, but they're underneath what looks like a nice little, I guess, they're underneath an umbrella with a cloth at the bottom, like as if they're about to have a picnic. In the umbrella.
I was gonna say it's like a makeshift picnic area.
Yeah. So they're sitting down, and it looks like they had the bright idea of having an umbrella there to stop any rain from hitting them. But Meowth basically burst their bubble by going, well, this umbrella is nice as of right now, but apparently the part of the region that we're in right now gets a whole bunch of hurricanes and just very, very strong winds. And sad to say, but we're about to get caught in this right now. So this umbrella is not going to do us any type of good as of right now. Doug?
Yeah. So, Meowth's kind of being a bit of a party pooper, and you can tell that James is kind of affected because he's kind of getting the anime worry lines over his left eye, and Jesse's like, I don't believe a word of that. Um, all guidebooks do is scare tourists, and um, I just clicked in the wrong spot and I inadvertently jumped in. Oh, I caught up. I'm good. I'm good.
Okay.
All guidebooks do is serve to scare tourists, and basically on cue, the fucking wind intensifies, and they're all hanging for dear life on this umbrella, and
Full blown animation style, just gripping the umbrella as their body is basically floating in the air from from this hurricane that's getting ready to hit.
and we get a very early Team Rockets blasting off again, and for a second you go, well, damn, okay, but I think you have to know that they're going to come back at some point. But for a second, you're like, well, that was quick. And then we're back at the bus stop, and um, looks like I mean, at this point, what do we call her? Like the
So
guide?
yeah, well, I wouldn't even call her the guide because she's not guiding anyone anywhere. But she at this point, it looks like she's the person that helps the people get onto the to the bus. So
Hmm.
she's the bus stop. There you go.
She's like the caretaker for this lodge or whatever.
Yeah, there you go. So she's sitting there and it's downpour raining, and you see the bus driver go, well, it doesn't look like anybody else is coming, and it's starting to downpour right now, so it's going to be a little harder to get up this mountain tonight. What do you say? Why don't we go ahead and just leave about 5 minutes early so we can try to beat this storm as best as we can? And she's like, yeah, I don't see a problem with that. I don't see anybody else coming over to go up to the canyon. So you know what? All right, goodbye, bus driver. We'll talk to you later. I'll see you in about a month. And the bus takes off. And on cue, as the bus is taking off, we have Ash, Misty, and Brock literally slide down face first through a what would you call it? A mud um,
Like basically, they just hit a muddy patch in the downhill, and
a mud hill. There you go.
and they basically face planted in front of this woman, and she's like, "Are you okay?" And Ash pops up immediately. He's like, "We're fine, but did the bus? Does the bus come through here?" And she's like, "Well, yeah, but you just missed it." And um,
But the bus literally just took off. I mean, I'm sorry, that kind of bugged me a little bit. Like the bus just took off. Like, do they not have cell phones at this point? I mean, Ash has a damn cell phone.
well, yeah, but you're talking. It's the middle of a rainstorm. You're gonna get horrible reception,
I guess, yeah.
and it is, it's only 2000, so it's not like we're dealing with 5G anyway. So she's like, "Oh, but you just missed it." And Brock immediately pops up in complete horn dog mode. He goes, "Forget about the bus anyway. You can stay dry with me under my frying pan if we get close." And Misty grabs him by the ear and goes, "Oh, come on. I smell what you're cooking."
And Ash is like, there's got to be a way to catch that bus. And she's like, not when the weather is like this. The wind and the rain are treacherous here, and the roads can get very dangerous. So why don't we go ahead and go into the lodge and get dry? And Ash is like, well, can't we go by foot? And she's like, yeah, no, it's impossible to go by foot. It's barely feasible to go by bus, but it's impossible to go by foot. So let's just go and get out of this rain and go into the lodge. and they all agree to go into the lodge. And we get a shot inside of the bus. And at this moment, the bus starts to get picked up in the wind. Like, this wind is so strong that it's whirling around this canyon, and it literally picks the bus up, freaking Wizard of Oz style, and just starts freaking twirling this damn bus, and everybody on the bus starts freaking out, and everyone's like, hold on. And while we're watching this, we get a shot of Mewtwo's hand, who stops the bus from twirling and psychically puts the bus back down on level ground, so everyone's okay on the bus. And everyone's just like, oh my God, it's a miracle. I can't believe it. Bus driver's like, how could this even happen? And then we go straight into Mewtwo, Meowth, and Pikachu on the inside of Mewtwo's cave. And we get the sense that Pikachu is questioning Mewtwo's motives, because we don't get any subtitles anyone. So Pikachu's like, Pika, 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 Pika. And Mewtwo's answering, he's like, what? Well, it's like, because we don't know if it's a he or she, but it's like, what, you think I saved those humans because I have a soft spot for humans? Oh, puh. No, I stopped it because if anything happened to those humans, we're going to get a bunch more humans over here to investigate the accident, which will bring a lot more attention over to our area, which they could then find us here, which would not be good for anybody. Doug?
Which is a fair, pardon me, a fair thought, because, buses don't just randomly get picked up and put back down without incident every other day.
I know.
So we then are able to find Team Rocket, whose umbrella pole has been stuck into the side of this cliff. And Jesse's like, oh, it's a good thing we brought that umbrella in the end. And James says, well, if it wasn't for that umbrella, Meowth finishes off the line, we'd be out on a limb. And then we have a rim shot, and then we go, and we're back into the lodge with Ash and Brock and Misty and unnamed woman.
Yes. So, all right, from here, let's see. The unnamed woman at this point says that this lodge was built about 10 years ago, and once a month, the bus will come, and it will take travelers up to the top of the mountain, but the bus won't be back for a full month because the weather to get up there is very treacherous.
And it just left, in all fairness.
Yeah, it just left. So it's not going to be back for a full month. And she goes, you could take a boat down to the Purity River in the canyon and get across that way if you're looking on crossing around this canyon. And Misty's like, oh, I would love a boat ride. And she's like, I'm a water Pokemon gym leader, so I would love to go around there. And she's like, and the unnamed lady is like, well, if you love water.
Wait, they just dropped her name. Hold on. Shit, go back. They just dropped her name. Luna. Luna. Luna.
Okay, yes.
I was going to say, they say it early, but.
So, yes, Luna. Luna is the owner of this lodge, everyone. So it's at this point that Luna is sitting here, and she's like, you can take the boat down to the Purity River, and you can take that to get around this lake if you're looking at continuing your travels. But from there, they go to a scene where she's dipping a bucket into the river because this water that's over here is the purest water that you will ever drink. And she gives everyone a cup of this water. It's funny watching this after COVID, watching everyone share this cup. It's just
Made my skin crawl.
it's just weird. But yes, so this water is so pure that when she gives the cup to everyone, they start tearing up. Everybody but Ash. Ash is like, this is just water. There's nothing good about this at all. And freaking Pikachu ends up taking the water, and he's like, Pikachu, you're on my side. Taste this water. So Pikachu tastes it, and then Togepi tastes it, and Misty's like, well, it seems like 4 out of 5 of us enjoy this water. And 4 out of 5 of us have good taste because Pikachu and Togepi get lifted off their feet as well. And Brock sits here and he gets offended because Ash doesn't like the damn water at all. But we go straight from that to our next scene with them on the boat. Doug?
So, because of the purity of the water, Misty's, gung-ho on taking this canoe trip across. And it's peaceful and it's quiet, and Misty's happy because the fuck me, the canoe is doing most of the river is doing most of the work with the current, and she's just beside herself, and Brock's kind of surprised because he's like, I know how you don't like bug Pokemon, and clean clear water like this is like paradise for bugs, and Misty's like, well,
she is freaked out.
She's like, well, I've decided right here, right now, in this boat on this water, I'm not gonna let bug Pokemon bug me anymore, and we're just gonna go right past that pun because it's horrible, and Ash is typical male. He says, bring on the bugs, and then we get a really dumb line of Ash saying, oh, look out in the distance, it's a Christmas tree, because we see a plain tree with looks like some red lights in it, and Brock basically smacks him and says, that's not a Christmas tree, that's a flock of Ledian. And I got a distinct memory of Ledian playing gold and silver.
Yes.
You could only catch them like early in the morning, right?
Something. Well, I believe Ledian. Yeah, you can catch Ledian during the day. I forgot what you can catch at night, because I believe that was around the time that Pokemon were implementing that you can only catch certain Pokemon during the day and you can catch others at night, and it went by the clock that was on your Game Boy at the time. Am I correct, Doug?
Yeah, and I believe one of the nighttime Pokemon that sticks out to me is a Hoot Hoot, the owl.
Yes, there you go. Ledian during the day, Hoot Hoot at night.
But I remember waking up at like 5 or 6 a.m. and just being able, and you could tell it was just starting to get light out because the lighting in the game was a little different, and daytime, morning time Pokemon, and then obviously, lights on the game started coming on about, 6 or 7 o'clock, depending on what time of the year it was in terms of daylight savings. So anyway, sidetracked. We see the flock of Ledian in the tree, and she's like, Misty's like, maybe I'm starting to turn a corner on bug Pokemon, and then we just happen to wander into the Kakuna den,
and she's like, oh my gosh, these are nasty. Oh my God, what did I just do? And we go straight from that to, of course, if there's Kakuna, there's Beedrill.
So, and I didn't catch this right away when I was watching it. Like, I had to rewind because I was like, no, they went back to the lodge.
Yes.
Instead of going forward to get away from they went back.
Yes, they went back because if they would have gone forward, they would have gone straight into those Beedrill.
Oh my gosh.
Would you want to go into a flock of Beedrill?
I'm not gonna go back. We're out.
Well, it's not even they went back. It was freaking Misty. Misty took the damn reel and was like, I'm getting the mess out of here.
She's like, I've had it. And then, Luna's like, well, you should have mentioned that you don't like bug Pokemon. I could have told you against the canoe trip. And Misty's like, yeah, well, I suppose next time we'll know. And I'm sitting there going, if there's a next time, your ass is going to get left in the cabin for a month.
Can you imagine how pissed off Ash was when they were getting reeled back? Like the conversation that they probably had off screen, just, we were halfway there, Misty. Now how am I going to get my next badge?
Thankfully, he didn't mention badge. Because if he would have mentioned badge, I think one time, I think I would have felt a certain way about this movie.
Why?
I don't know. This didn't feel like a badge gathering adventure. This just felt like obviously you can't anticipate what happens here, but I just didn't, because it didn't say anything about he's training for the Johto League or he's training to participate in the Orange Islands or whatever the fuck. They were just out walking.
Yeah.
So now they're back to square one, trying to figure out another way across the valley, and then Brock gets a big flash of inspiration, and he whirls around and he points at the mountain. And he said, we could go straight over the top of Mount, what the fuck's your name? We can go straight over the top of Mount Quina. And
not Luna. Well, Luna, right?
Yeah.
I am right. Sorry. All right. So, and Luna basically tells Brock, well, there's no way, it's impossible to go up there by foot. And Ash is like, we must go. If there are Pokemon up there, we have to go. And then they see a flock of Butterfree that's flying over the mountain, and it looks like they're like purifying the air, and they're laying their eggs all over Mount Quina. That is how you pronounce it, right? Quina.
That's how I'm pronouncing it. Yeah.
Yeah. And they they're laying their eggs all over the mountain for them to reproduce on top. And as soon as we see that, we see Mewtwo again, and Mewtwo's having a revelation, and he's like, this is how life should be. Pokemon should be able to live free and carefree. And you see, they're here like this is their home, like they belong here. But we were not born here the same way. We were made. So we do not belong here on this world. And Pikachu has a really good line. Not Pikachu. Meowth is talking to Mewtwo, and basically Mewtwo reiterates by going, do they not see the moon as we do, the moonlight like we do? Do they not see the earth as round like we do? And if all of us see everything the same, then we are the same. It doesn't matter if we're a clone. And Mewtwo is kind of wondering the same thing. He's like, yes. He's like, you might be right. He's like, why can't we see the earth as they do? He's like, why?
We get a nice shot of the Butterfree finishing their crossing, and which one says it? Because I was watching the
Brock.
Brock says, I'd sure like to see where those Butterfree are headed. And
we get a knock on the door.
Right, we get a knock, and we get a who could it be at this hour kind of thing, which I thought was funny. And then we see a woman in a baseball cap and a scruffy looking man, and she's like, "Well, I know it's too late to say good morning, but it's too early to say good night because if I say good night, you go to." She was just being real flaky, and
Yeah, I'll say she's like I said good morning because even though it's after midnight, if I say good night, you might go to bed. Just like a complete like stereotypical blonde.
airhead.
Yeah, airhead. There you go.
So, and the guy says, "We hate to bother you, but we've been exploring, and we needed a place to stay. And my name is
Colin Kalis.
right, so we'll just call him Colin because that's his last name doesn't matter." Um, and Luna recognizes him as a researcher and professor of medicine. Um, and then Cullen recognizes her as Luna Carlson. Turns out
she's an author.
Right. Turns out that she does Pokemon research mostly, and that the being the caretaker of this lodge is kind of her side gig. And that's nice to meet you in person.
We find out that that working for the bus company is her part-time job, but she's actually here observing the native Pokemon and their habits. So that's the reason that she's out here. And then we get the girl that was with Colin. And she's like, I can't believe I'm finally meeting the Luna Carlson. I'm totally a fan of yours. I want to be exactly like you when I get old. Just completely, just kind of downing her, but kind of being a fangirl at the same time.
And then we find out that the girl's name is Domino.
Yes.
And that she works for the Pokemon Institute.
Yes. And from here, Brock just swoops right in. Domino. What a beautiful name. So black and white, yet so playful. And he's like, please, let's find a quiet spot to line up and find out if we're a match.
And then we get the stereotypical anime sweat on the back of the head spot from Domino, and Misty pulls him away again by the ear, saying, "Haven't you learned by now that you shouldn't play if you can't win?"
I think this is the most that we've gotten ear pulls in an episode. Normally we only get one, and we've gotten two within like 10 minutes of this movie.
That's not good for your cartilage long term, so maybe Brock should cool it going forward.
But
and then
sorry.
And then Luna kind of relays the bad news about the bus being gone for a month, and then Cullen's like, "Well, we're not really here for the bus. We're here to study." Well, he says, "I didn't come for the bus. I'm here to study the water." And Luna's kind of taken aback, and we basically get the backstory that the water in the Purity stream has
it has rare minerals in it, which has an amazing effect on both Pokemon and humans.
Right. So he's been studying it for a while, and he's got a sample in a little vial, and he says, "I'm here to explore Mount Kina and discover the secret." And Luna shuts him down right away and says, "Quite frankly, you shouldn't do that, because if it's revealed that this, in fact, does heal people and Pokemon, they're going to flock here from all over the world, and
it'll destroy the water."
Right, exactly. So Luna's kind of a hippie, but she's not she's not up in your face about it. And
she says that the people, if the people come, they might accidentally destroy the very thing that they're actually looking for.
And she says, besides that, the freaking mountain's impossible to climb anyway. And then we get Team Rocket making their triumphant re-entrance, and we get a full, uninterrupted motto.
Yes. And it's kind of extended a little bit too.
Well, we've got time to kill, you know.
Yeah, I was about to say it's a movie. So they, but yeah, the whole monologue is uninterrupted. Team Rocket jumps in, and they have an electrical wire that springs out and snatches Pikachu, and we find out that the wire, um, um, I guess it stops
It
Pikachu from shot.
absorbs.
Yeah, there you go. It absorbs electricity. I couldn't think of that word. So it absorbs electricity, so Team Rocket does not get shocked, and they end up taking off with Pikachu. So they and Ash gets all ready. He's like, Team Rocket, I'm tired of you coming out here and ruining all of our plans and our adventure. We beat you. We're gonna beat you again, like we beat you every single time that you come out here and try to capture Pikachu. And Meowth, because it's a movie, he's like, now it's time for our getaway. And you're right, Ash. You do always beat us. But this time we have a great plan, and they bring up the big old Meowth balloon, and this time the balloon has metal surrounding the important parts of the balloon, and it has rocket jets around the big old Meowth part of the balloon. Doug?
So before we go on, I hate to backtrack on these things, but we did skip something that's going to be crucial relatively soon. Because as Team Rocket is making their, song and dance entrance, we see Domino under her breath to herself. She has kind of a moment of, I don't remember these clowns. So like right away, you're like, okay,
Something's up.
something's up with this blonde over here.
Yeah. And she starts calling Jesse and James an embarrassment.
Right.
So
So you're like automatically connecting like half of the puzzle already. I mean,
yes, and if you were paying attention in the beginning of the movie, so I mean, if you're kind of alluding to that, she's a part of Team Rocket. I mean, that's basically what they're coming out with. But you also can put two and two together. If you look at her outfit, she's wearing the exact same outfit as the assistant was with Giovanni inside of the room. You just don't see her face, but it's the exact same outfit that was at the beginning of the movie. So we find out during this time frame that yes, this is the person that you saw at the beginning of the movie who's pretending to be someone else.
right, to kind of get in on the inside kind of thing.
Yes. So during this time, Colin is looking. He's like, "You can't go up there, you freaking idiots. The wind is too strong around this mountain, and you will get blown away." And Team Rocket's like, "Well, we have these handy brand new rockets. As long as we have these rockets, we're good to go." And they jump into the Team Rocket um, balloon, and Jessie she starts looking at Colin, and she's head over heels for Colin, because Colin to her is a good looking dude, and she's like, "Oh, Colin, if only this were in another world, we would be perfect for each other. But as of right now, we have to go, so we can't be together." And Jesse and James, James and me out there sitting there like, man, she has some type of vivid imagination. And Jesse's like, "I'm not done yet. I may see you in another lifetime. But you know what, Colin? We have to go now. But we will see each other later." And they just blast off with the rockets on the side of the Meowth and just fly off into space. And Ash is like, "Pikachu!" And Team Rocket wasn't looking forward to these rockets because they had no idea that it was this powerful. And something tells me they were using a lot more gas than what they were supposed to on these rockets. But Team Rocket was holding on to this balloon for dear life. Doug?
So they're like, oh, this rocket's gonna take us straight to the moon, and Meowth's like, oh, speaking of the moon, um, I don't see it. And then they're like, it was here 2 seconds ago, and then they're just getting freaking blown hither and yon, and Colin's like, taking off in a balloon like that is careless and reckless, and Domino, who's sitting there with this with this look on her face, like, I am so over this shit already. This is ridiculous. I can't believe these two are on my team. She goes, not to mention brainless. And and Ash has a dumb line of, if they get away, I'll never see Pikachu again. It's like, okay, but how many times have you foiled one of Team Rocket's master plans? So, like I say, they're getting blown all over the place, and Ash looks at Luna, and he's like, I must follow Team Rocket. I have to get Pikachu back. And she's like, fine. And she, like, gears herself up, and because they're going to climb the mountain.
Yes.
And
with climbing gear.
With climbing, so she's all completely ready, and Cullen is with them, and you can kind of see there's a little bit of hesitation in Domino, because she's like, I really don't want to fucking climb that mountain. It's kind of, it's windy up here. And then as they're climbing, she's doing all the dumb blonde shit. It's awful scary up on this here mountain, and then
this is so scary. And fucking Colin had no chill. He's like, we kind of warned you about this before we climbed up here. Why didn't you just go back and stay inside of the lodge? And she's like,
I'd be all alone, and that'd be even scarier.
And then we have the gust of wind blow this huge boulder out of place, and the boulder comes down, and Colin, he's like, oh shit. He's like, that thing is about to crush me, or it's gonna crush Domino. And he looks back, he's like, Domino! And she's like, here I am. And she literally jumped in front of him, and it kind of confused Colin. And she's like, that big rock missed me by an inch. And Colin's like, how the fuck did she get ahead of me?
So we go, looks like inside kind of like a cave area.
Yeah, Mewtwo's fortress.
And we see kind of Mewtwo's point of view of everything, and I mean, it's very kind of blink and you miss it. And then we're watching as Team Rocket approaches the peak of the mountain, and they talk about, with all the updrafts and downdrafts and sideways drafts, I don't think we're getting anywhere. And they're like, well, but I don't think we're in any danger at the moment. And as soon as they say, oh, we should be okay because we have the rockets give out, because of course they do. And we see that our heroes are climbing, and they're kind of hunkering down because of the wind, and we're watching the balloon go up, and then we're watching it go down, and then it comes straight for Luna, and it sideswipes, and
it sideswipes their climbing gear, which
this wouldn't happen. This would not happen.
No. So let me kind of paint a picture for you guys. So the balloon literally sideswipes Luna with her climbing gear, and she has a big long rope that Ash, Misty, Brock, Colin, and Domino are holding on to climb up, so they don't get blown away by this wind. But it literally unclips from the rock, clips onto Team Rocket's balloon. So you literally have all 5 of them literally holding onto this rope from the bottom of of Team Rocket's balloon. And then from there, since they're now high up into the air, we get Domino looking down at the rock once they get high enough into the air. And she has these special binoculars that basically was doing the exact same thing that that it was doing when she was with Giovanni, and it detects heat.
Yes,
So
thermal energy source. Yeah.
yes, so she's scanning the island that Mewtwo is living on top of the mountain, and she gets a heat wave of Mewtwo basically staring right back at her. And she's like, I think I see. And then she zooms in even more. Just what we're looking for. And from there, this binoculars is amazing because it literally looks into the rock. It gets the thermalness of Mewtwo, and then it can actually see inside of the rock, and it scans Mewtwo, and she sees Mewtwo. It's Bluetoothing this back to Giovanni. So Giovanni is looking at this on a big screen, and he's like, you got away from me once, but it won't happen again, my friend. And from there, we have Mewtwo looking up from the inside of its cave, and it sees the big old Meowth balloon that everyone is holding on to. And he's like, those children again. And
because obviously he remembers the events of the movie.
Yes, because his mind wasn't wiped. And he's like, this can't be an accident, or is it something more? And Pikachu and Meowth come running over as well because their minds weren't wiped either. And then we get Giovanni back wherever he's watching this from a Bluetooth area, and he's like, now we will find out once and for all whose will is stronger. And he has a nice alcoholic beverage in his hand in a nice small glass, and he just grips it so hard that it just crushes in his hand. And Doug, you want to get this next part?
Yeah, we have to call up the mission because Giovanni has about 14 shards of glass in his hand and needs emergency service. That's not that doesn't happen. But
he's very strong, Doug.
Yeah, he's very strong, or that's a dollar store whiskey glass. So we're back, and we see that Domino is still using the binoculars, and we see that she finally makes notice of Pikachu and Meowth, and they have similar heat sources to Mewtwo, and and again, this is being live streamed back to Giovanni's hello. I'm going to call it a copter, but it's not a copter, but you know what I'm saying. Hovercraft.
Yeah, because we just found out he's in a hovercraft.
And he's like, well, it makes sense that Mewtwo wants to be with its own kind, no matter how unnatural they may be. And we get Domino's
code name,
and it's 009. So you kind of had a little bit of a chuckle the first time you hear it, and then it kind of gets old. We get over and out, and then she just like freaking just ninja warriors up the rope and steps on Ash and gets past Luna and just alley-oops into the into the basket, and she calls in the Team Rocket combat unit, and
she's like 009 to Team Rocket combat unit leaders, proceed to coordinates. Just all sorts of badass.
Jesse and James and Meowth are fanboying out, and they're like looking, and then we see just this fleet of blimps and a couple of crafts similar to Giovanni's, but not quite. And then everybody and their mother gets up on the side of this balloon. So this balloon should be probably plummeting at this point because everybody's just hanging. And then, we have the big dramatic reveal of Domino. And
what are you? Colin's like, Domino, what are you doing?
He's like, I thought you worked for the Pokemon Institute. And she's like, I do, but we have operatives all over this place. And she unveils her Team Rocket uniform, and she's standing on the ledge of this goddamn balloon. And where's a good gust of wind when you need it? And then she's like, my adversaries call me the Black Tulip. And I'm like, that's kind of badass. And
she also says, she's like, Domino is not my real name. I do not reveal my real name because it gets too personal. But yeah, they call me the Black Tulip. And from here, this is where we're going to say goodbye. And she jumps off of the Team Rocket balloon, but she has a Black Tulip in her hand. And as she is jumping back off of the balloon, she throws the Black Tulip into the Meowth balloon, and it literally pops the balloon and sends the balloon flying. And we find out inside of her backpack is not just items, but it's a jetpack.
It's a hang glider.
Or a hang glider, sorry.
So Team Rocket crashes in with the balloon. Ash, Misty, Brock, and Cullen are able to jump off and land in the water. Jesse is considering ditching the balloon permanently, and Meowth and James want nothing to do with it. And James is like, "Hey, on the bright side, we still have the Torps Pikachu," and he pulls the tether that was holding Pikachu, and it's empty. And they say, "Oh, it must have come loose once we impacted here." And then we see Ash's Pikachu charging up a Thunderbolt, and it shocks him. And we find out that it's not quite the full dose, because Pikachu's Bolt gets knocked off course by the clone Pikachu, and this is when stuff really starts getting into the thick of it, because the clone Pikachu is yelling at Ash's Pikachu, and thankfully for us, the viewer, Meowth is there to translate, and
he's basically saying, he's like the one on the hill, which is the clone Pikachu, knows the Twerps Pikachu, but the Twerps Pikachu doesn't seem to really know the one on the hill. And he's like, it ain't happy. It's saying you shouldn't have come here. This is our place. Or this place is ours.
This place is ours.
And Pikachu continues to talk. And he's like, it said, when we came here to make a home and to live in peace, but you brought humans, and they are the last thing Pokemon need, especially clone Pokemon. And Meowth is like, I've never seen a clone Pokemon before.
Because, again, mind wipe.
He's like, I wonder what they are.
So they're about one move away from battling, and Jesse makes a quip of, oh, Pokemon or Pikachu versus Pikachu, this is going to be the match of the year, and my immediate thought was 6 stars in the Tokyo Dome. And
good line.
the clone Pikachu's charging up, and Ash's Pikachu's kind of confused, not even really in battle position, and then Mewtwo pops in and says, "No, fighting is senseless." And the clone Pikachu's like, "Yeah, well,
fuck you.
Fuck this. I ain't here to dance." And
we literally get a rabid Pikachu. Like, Pikachu jumps up and literally looked like it was about to just tear Ash's Pikachu's ear off, the way that it jumped into the air before Mewtwo used his psychic powers to catch the Pikachu in the air, and was like, and the clone Pikachu was like, Pika? And,
oh, damn.
He's like, oh shit. And Mewtwo puts Pikachu just back on the ground, And he's like, there is nothing to be gained from such battling. He's like, you are the same as the other Pokemon, neither stronger nor weaker. And how does this clone Pikachu not remember what happened on that island? Mewtwo didn't wipe the minds of these clone Pokemon. He just sent them away.
Well, because, and obviously we understand that because Pikachu, the clone Pikachu, recognizes Ash's Pikachu enough to know that it should consider it a threat.
Yeah.
Selective memory, I guess. That's all I can really tell you.
But from this point, Mewtwo, we see that all the other clone Pokemon on the island have kind of gathered around Mewtwo because there's a bunch of commotion going on. They're like, what's going on here? And Mewtwo's like, you proved the last time that we met and battled the Pokemon from which we were copied, that battling is not going to do anything. And this is when we get a funny line
This
from
might
Team
have
Rocket.
been my favorite.
Jessie jumps up. She's like, this is awfully confusing. This is like the sequel to a movie that I missed.
I was like, that's not bad. I didn't hate that.
That was a good line. And Mewtwo looks over at Team Rocket and Team Rocket gets scared shitless. And they're like, oh, don't mind us. We're just looking for our balloon that crashed over here. We're so sorry. We'll leave you alone, whatever Pokemon you are. We're looking for the balloon repair shop.
Yeah, and Mewtwo's like, this place was a place of happiness and peace, but now humans have found us again. And basically, the clone Pikachu stands up and through Meowth is like, we need to stay. We need to stand our ground. We can't always be running. And
Meowth's also asking, he's like, I know you're psychic, but have we met before? Like he's really trying to figure this out. Like and we get that line a few more times. He's like, what's going on? You're talking to us like you know us.
And then, the clone Pikachu basically lays out that this isn't going to be like any battle. If the humans are coming again, this is going to be a war. And we see Ash's Pikachu is trying to kind of be the voice of reason. And Meowth is like, Pikachu's right. There's no reason for
you Pokemon to
fight
Pokemon
us. To fight us Pokemon. Very confusing sentence.
For you Pokemon to fight us Pokemon. Basically, the clones versus the real Pokemon.
And the clone Meowth is once again transfixed by the full moon. And Mewtwo says the moon reflects the light from the sun. Pokemon born into this world may walk freely in that sun.
But we were created. We're reflections. We are shadows. And he's like, perhaps we should not live in sunlight, but live in the shadows of the moonlight. Like
Pokemon vampires.
Freaking Mewtwo is such a big poet, and he doesn't even know it.
He's an emo. He was emo before emo was a thing.
Yeah, for real. And Meowth is looking over at the moon again. And he's transfixed on the moon again, and he's like, the moon looks awful bright tonight. And the other Meowth is like, Meowth. And then Pikachu is giving Mewtwo the ringer, and Meowth is still translating for us, the viewers. He's like, it's saying that it ain't fair that they have to live in the shadows and every other Pokemon gets to live in the real world. And she's like, or the other Pikachu's like, this place is beautiful, but beyond this place, there's a big world, and I'm tired of living in the shadows. And it's starting to cry, and it's a sad moment. And from here we get Team Rocket flying into the scene, but then we're transfixed on another scene. Doug?
Yeah, so we see this field of flowers and a waterfall and an ocean hitting the rocks, and then we see a shot of the earth, and it's just, I mean, it's total freaking screensaver mode. And then we're back, and we see the clone Pikachu is looking at the moon, and looks over at Ash's Pikachu, and says, "Oh gosh darn it, didn't pause it in time." And the clone Pikachu says, "You know that world, or yeah, you know that world, don't you?
You were born.
You were born in it, and you can live in it anywhere you want." And
but because of what we are, we can't live in that world. And Pikachu continues to scream, and he's like, whatever we do or wherever we go, we don't belong. And this is all Meowth translating for the Pikachu. And Meowth has a soft spot here as he's translating.
And we see the clone Pikachu has tears in his eye, and Jesse's like, "I feel that, dog. You know, the world's been looking down on me ever since I was a little kid."
She's always putting herself. She either always has these friends who are the biker gang, or she was a misfit and nobody ever liked her, or she was this poor person that had to eat snow to just get some type of food in her belly. Like, Jessie always has something that she wants to talk about.
And then, you know, Team Rocket kind of does another bit of the rah-rah speech, and looks over and see that all the clone Pokemon are looking at him, and Mewtwo says, "No, we are what we are. We will remain here and live in peace."
And from here, we get...
and then he has a nice period to the sentence. He goes, "If we can." And then we see that Team Rocket ships are still approaching, even though they've probably been approaching for half an hour. And then
we see Giovanni.
Giovanni says, "Prepare yourself, old friend. At sunrise, we will meet again."
So they're getting ready to strike. And then we go straight from that, which it seems like that was probably a scene break back in Japan, because it kind of fades out.
You're right.
So we're coming back, and we see our 5 heroes. Luna, Colin.
I don't consider Colin a hero. He's just there.
Well, he's a part of the gang right now. It's easier than saying them all by name. But yeah, we have Luna, Colin, Misty, Brock, and Ash walking out of the body of water that they have fallen into. And everyone, Brock is basically like, "Hey, is everybody okay?" Misty's like, "Yeah, I'm fine." And Togepi is fine too. And Ash is like, "I won't be fine. Not until I see Pikachu again." And
it's like, "All right, John McClane, take it
easy." he knows it's a movie, and he knows the camera is just right on him. So he has to get that deep line in.
And Cullen goes, "Team Rocket's balloon was heading towards that mountain." And Ash goes, "Well, that's where I'm heading." And he's just going to fucking trudge through the fucking water because he's an idiot. And
Did he not notice that? Because they were already in the middle of the water, and they had just gotten back on into land. And since Colin was like, "Well, you know what? Team Rocket's balloon landed that way, not this way." And Ash is like, "Well, I'm going to trudge back into this water, and I'm going to
go back.
I'm going to go over to that mountain and get my Pikachu back." And Luna has an idea, and she's like, "You see that giant tree trunk laying over there?" And they see a big old tree that has fallen on top of this mountain. And she's like, "We can take that tree trunk and rebuild it as a canoe. And then we can take the canoe and go over there and save your Pokemon." And Ash is like, "Then let's get started. Chikorita, Bulbasaur, I choose you." And this is kind of when you get the motion that they are in the Johto League. In the Johto Islands, because he has a Chikorita.
Right.
But he does still have Bulbasaur there too.
So yeah, I was confused. I was trying to think, and admittedly, I didn't think too hard because I wanted to finish the movie. But I was like, I didn't know. Pardon me, I didn't know Chikorita
and Bulbasaur
Bulbasaur
were together.
coexisted. I didn't know.
They don't. And
I didn't think so.
in the series, Chikorita is his grass Pokemon, but just for this movie to make things easier, because Bulbasaur has so much more experience with its Razor Leaf that they brought him out for the movie.
So the five of them are paddling this canoe, and Misty looks up and goes, "We can't let them see us here. The quicker we get there, the better." Which, I mean, no shit. And we see that Mewtwo is watching the progress of the ships from his screen, and he says, "If the humans won't leave in peace, so be it. We will just continue our search for yet another place to live." And like he's content to fight, but he's not content to die.
For real. So I mean, he's like, he's content on just getting the hell out of there. He's like, well, they found us here. I can go and make an island anywhere on this earth, and we can just go and keep floating away, and no one will find us. And then we get a funny scene with Team Rocket. So Team Rocket is looking at the blimps, and he's like, I wonder if they're gonna come find us. He's like, and James is like, well, do you really want the boss to see us in another humiliating situation? And they're tied up by the clone Bulbasaur and clone Venusaur, everybody. So and Meowth is like, pipe down. The other Pichu wants to say something important. And it's talking over to the clone Pikachu is talking over to the rest of the clone Pokemon. And Meowth is translating. He's like, it said, if we don't get out of here, they're going to catch us and use us in Pokemon cloning experiments. And just because we're clones don't mean they can treat us any way that they want. And then you get all the angry clone Pokemon. Doug?
Get a Gyarados roar, and Pikachu says, through Pikachu, Meowth says, I say we leave this place and go wherever we please. Like, you know, the clone Pikachu's ready for an uprising, and James is like, it sounds good. Tell them to bring us too. And
we'll be glad to go anywhere.
Smash cut to them getting thrown in a cell.
And there was a funny line earlier, and I had just passed over it, but I'm just remembering it now. But when Meowth saw all of the Team Rocket balloons, Meowth was like, where's the big old Meowth balloon? I just thought that was a funny one-liner when he saw all of the high-tech Team Rocket balloons.
So Jesse and James have been thrown in a cell, and James says, the next time I book a trip, I'm going through a travel agent. And, Meowth is outside, and
he's not thrown into the cage. He's doing what they did in the movie. He's taking the side with the Pokemon.
And Jesse's like, how come you're not in here with us? And Meowth's like, I'm a valuable asset. I can talk human talk.
And he's like, I'll come in handy. And Jesse's like, then what are we? And he's like, but then why are we? He's like, they'll let you go as long as I do my job and I don't try any funny stuff.
And they're watching, and they see Ash's Pikachu going up the steps with the clone Pokemon, and they're like, hey, what are you doing? You're working with the enemy. And Meowth's like, don't you get it? This is a perfect chance. I can work with them, and then when everything calms down, I can grab the Pikachu.
He's like, this is the perfect opportunity. He's like, as soon as we get this mess cleaned up, I'll grab it. And James is like, what do you think, Jesse? Do you think we can trust Meowth? He's like, and then I'll take, and then Meowth just walks away all nonchalant. He's like, and then I'll take the Pikachu over to the boss, and he'll be so happy that maybe I'll finally get a Team Rocket uniform. And Jesse and James are looking over here. I was like, traitor!
And then we see the clone Pokemon are making their way across. It's not everyone. It's just the water Pokemon and the clone Meowth and
the Pidgeot
and the Pidgeot and Ash's Pikachu, and we're some of the heavier hitters along with Mewtwo are on the rock, and Mewtwo says, "Should I have let them go? All creatures ought to control their own destinies." Or should I force them to stay? He says.
Yes.
And
he's kind of torn between either letting the Pokemon figure this out for themselves, because he's like, this is easy for me to do with my psychic powers, but he's like, I do have the right to keep them from living as they, or he's like, but do I have the right to keep them from living as they choose? Because all of these Pokemon, they're kind of torn now. So the Pokemon that's in the water, the clone water Pokemon with the Wigglytuff and the Pidgeot, they're all for going out and battling. But the Pokemon that's behind Mewtwo, like the Charizard, the Venusaur, and all of them, they're standing behind Mewtwo. So right now as we stand, we have two sets of clone Pokemon that have two different objectives.
And we're watching them, and Mewtwo kind of caps it off with their freedom or their safety. And we see the homemade canoe entering the cave, and we see the flight of stairs, and Ash is running at full tilt, and he's like, "I'm coming, Pikachu." And I mean, he's thinking this in his head. And then we see the moon again, and then we see clean, clear water, and we get the "what is this place?" And then we get Cullen taking another sample of the water, and he finds out that the readings are off the charts. And he said, "This must be the source of the Purity River." And he goes, "This water's chemical makeup is outstanding." And Luna kind of matter-of-factly goes, "I knew it would be." And
okay, pause for just a second, Doug. Isn't this becoming a trend in these Pokemon movies? I feel like we're getting a lot of like specials that have to do with this healing water and these Pokemon around this healing water. Because just in the movie Coco that we did a couple months back, the whole point of that movie was the bad guy wanted to find this big old tree that had this water coming out of it that had healing powers. I'm just there. Does Pokemon not run out of ideas or something?
Well, I mean, to be fair, this was first.
Yeah, this was first. So they kind of redid the storyline, but in a whole different type of movie years later down the line.
So we get a whole big rundown of all the water, and we get a bunch of shots, and we get a bunch of shit, and my battery's going to die, and
so it's at
fucking Christ.
So it's at this point that all the Pokemon here seem to be nice and healthy, and I want to point out they have what looks like a baby Nidoqueen and a baby Rhyhorn. A bunch of them walking from a bush. But I want to point out that a Nidoqueen is the third of it's the third stage of a Nidoran, and of a girl Nidoran. And these things, these Nidoqueen and Rhyhorn look like you can just hold them in your hand. And Luna kind of says that the water keeps these Pokemon nice and strong and healthy, and that the Pokemon here have a natural water and they can grow at any size, but it seems like the water kind of keeps them a little small from up here. And freaking Misty throws out the line. I wonder if their parents are watching um, from anywhere. And then Luna points up and is like, their parents are right up there. And then you see a Rhyhorn and you see a Nidoqueen, which did you kind of scratch your head at this, Doug?
No.
You know where I'm going with this?
I know where you're going with it, but I think you're looking too much into it.
How is a Nidoqueen that small?
Hey, buddy, just enjoy the movie. I mean, just, for fuck's sake, man.
You see the mommy and well, you see what looks like a daddy Rhyhorn and a mommy Nidoqueen on the top of this hill looking down at their babies, and you kind of the way that they kind of present this, it's a little weird. Doug,
You're overthinking it.
I'm not overthinking it. They're too fucking small. They literally said that these things are babies.
Yeah, but then, we saw baby Pikachu earlier in Kanto, and then, years down the line, we find out there's such a thing as Pichu. So the whole thing, it's a fucking molded to fit the narrative. So, I mean, what are we really doing here?
That's true. But we have Pichu now.
Right, but we didn't then.
But we have a Nidoran. Okay, I'm done. I'm digging too far. Just like Luna says in this next line, she's like, I think we should move on now. They might get nervous that we're standing over here. And Ash is still in Ash mode, and he's like, we need to find Pikachu. I just hope Pikachu's someplace where it's nice and safe.
So we see the Pokemon that chose to fight have made it to the other side, and then we see Team Rocket's hovercrafts are getting close, have reached the point, and one of them brings down like a laser, and it shoots,
paralyzing the Pokemon,
paralyzing a couple, and I mean they're pardon me, and they're completely incapacitated, and it finally is able to zap the clone Pikachu, and it's dropping special Team Rocket Pokeballs.
Man, I'm going to call those Team Rocket Master Balls because they caught these Pokemon with no problem.
And the final one is coming down to catch the clone Pikachu, and Ash's Pikachu is able to zap it out of, or I should say back to consciousness, and it's able to avoid the Pokeballs, and Meowth runs up to the clone Meowth and scratches its face.
Come on, hurry up, pull yourself together. And the Meowth is looking up with his scratch face, and Meowth is like, sorry, pal, I didn't mean to scratch you up like that. I just don't want them to catch you, you know? And the Team Rocket Meowth grabs the clone Meowth, and they all start running away, and we get this nice little a picture of Ash's Pikachu and the clone Pikachu and Team Rocket's Meowth and the clone Meowth running away, and the freaking laser from the hovercraft is shooting down the paralyzed lasers, and it's trapping them in a corner, and there's no place for them to go now. And one final blast comes out, and freaking Mewtwo saves them by throwing one of its shadow balls over at the laser. And it's at this point Mewtwo is now like, all right, I've let this go on long enough. I'm going to go and save these motherfuckers. And he takes his shadow ball and throws it at the hovercraft, but the hovercraft just happens to just fly away. And then Mewtwo uses its psychic powers and releases all the Pokemon from their Team Rocket Pokeballs. And he's like, it's time to fight.
And then the craft with Giovanni and Domino come face to face with Mewtwo, and the hatch opens, and Giovanni and Domino are on like this platform, and we have a stare down. Mewtwo says, "You," and Giovanni says, "It's been a while. You look pretty well." And he's like, "You leave this place at once." And
Giovanni's like, I warn you, or no, Mewtwo's like, I warn you, my strength is far greater than when we first met.
and Giovanni's like, "I hope so." And I've developed technology to deal with you. He's surrounded by these two like shock machines from both sides, and they get him and they knock him clean out the air. And Giovanni walks over and he goes, seems like my experiment is worth a considerable investment." And Mewtwo sits up and he goes,
You should fear my powers most of all. You cannot conquer me. And Giovanni's like, your psychic attacks bend the wheels of living, but they cannot influence machines. And then the freaking devices that just shocked Mewtwo hover from in the air and go down, and they start surrounding Mewtwo again. And Mewtwo's like, we will see about that. And Giovanni's like, activate the force fields. And Domino, we're going to continue to call her Domino because that's what her name was. But she hits a button and Mewtwo starts getting shocked. But then it has enough power to build up this barrier from the ground to kind of block itself from getting shocked, and then use its psychic powers to grab a hold of these machines and throw them back into the rocks that are surrounding it. And Giovanni's like, well done. You have demonstrated that technology has its limits. Doug?
Yeah, so he says, Mewtwo's like, don't test the limits of my power. And Giovanni's kind of like,
it appears that would be futile.
Right. And so we're going to take the battle, and he points over to the island, and what's he say? He said,
he said, we'll take the battle over there. And he's like, I'll fly over there. Or Domino's like, I'll fly over there for phase 2. And Giovanni's like, I understand that some Pokemon friends of yours are over on that island.
And he says, we'll see how powerful your loyalty is. And Mewtwo says, you're despicable.
And then we go back to Ash I'm going to call it the heroes. So we go back to the heroes, and they're still climbing that long staircase. But just like what happened inside of Mewtwo Strikes Back, we get these little devices that come circling around, and it basically they're zip ties. They're psychic zip ties,
like a human dog catcher, basically.
Yeah, and they come out of nowhere and they fly around all 5 of them, and it zip ties their arms around their body so they can't move. And from here, we find out Domino and 4 Team Rocket grunts threw them at our heroes, and she's like, we can't let anyone interfere and prevent us from reaching our objectives. She's like, we can't let you leave until our operation is over. And Ash is like, you better. And then we go back to Team Rocket inside of their jail cell. Doug?
And then they kind of have a moment, and they're like, okay, so if Meowth doesn't come back, what do we do about the motto? And, I never thought about that. And they say, okay, let's stand up and let's practice. And they go, 1, 2, and they go, Team Rocket's never blasting off again. And then I'm going to assume that was another commercial break.
Yeah. So once it fades out, we come back and we get a view of the island, which is going to be the next part of our movie. So we have the Needle Queen and Rhyhorn still on top of the hill looking down at their babies. And we have Domino walking over to the baby Needle Queen and the baby Rhyhorn. And she said, "Oh, aren't they simply adorable?" And Domino picks up the baby Needle Queen. And Luna gets all offended. She's like, "Those Pokemon are just babies. Leave them alone." And freaking Needle Queen and Rhyhorn, the adult ones, jump off of the hill. And freaking Luna throws her
Tulip.
Her tulip, her black tulip, and this time it has an electric current coming from it when it hits the ground, and it shocks Needle Queen. And then since Rhyhorn is oblivious to electricity, she throws the zip tie that's around the humans around Rhyhorn, and it shocks Rhyhorn that way. And they both go crashing to the ground. And Ash is like, "You stop it!" And she's like, I know trainers catch their Pokemon by battling, but I prefer a different method." Doug?
And then we get this horrible montage of these Pokemon just being captured with these zip tie things. And he says, "Things we're only capturing these things for experiments. Why would we waste Pokeballs?" And it's just a horrible image of all these Pokemon being trapped. And
did you notice what Pokemon those were?
I'm imagining it's the ones that are in the movie,
Yes.
the Venusaur and the Charizard, and there's a Ponyta.
Yeah, they've officially captured all of the clone Pokemon, leaving Mewtwo basically by itself.
And we then have a smash cut of Domino walking into Team Rocket's cell. And she says, "Oh, what do we have here? Some rare and valuable Pokemon?" And we all have a laugh because they're people, not Pokemon. and you know very well we're not Pokemon. And she goes, "Oh, I was mistaken." And she says,
Team Rocket agents are as useless as they are rare,
Right.
You are rare. But they certainly are not very valuable. So she's basically downing Jesse and James by calling them the bottom of the barrel. You're not even grunts. Like you're trash compared to the rest of us.
And then we're back to the main island, and Giovanni's on his shit, and he says, this island is populated by Pokemon clones, that's Domino relaying the information to Giovanni, and Giovanni's like, "Excellent, the plan's coming together," and
he's like, "The trap is set, and now we have our bait." So Mewtwo is now finding out that while they were flying over to this island where he was having Mewtwo come over to, that he was basically distracting Mewtwo to go and capture all of those clone Pokemon. So Giovanni's like, "Mewtwo, you are going to let your little friends battle me alone?"
He says, "I cannot. I must help them." And the Pokemon that are with them are doing like battle cries, like And Meowth's like, "You want me to help?" And he looks over at Ash's Pikachu, and Ash's Pikachu says, "Well, I'm the babyface, so I'm going to help." And Meowth says, "Well, it's been a while since I've thought about somebody else other than myself, but
it's time to be unselfish." He's like, but if you can do it, I guess I can give it a try."
And we get the clone Pokemon pumping up Ash's Pokemon, and
okay, so the Pokemon that were captured were the ones that were behind Mewtwo. We find out the ones that were prepared for battle, they have not been caught. So those are the only Pokemon that are on Mewtwo's side. So scratch what I said before, everybody. It's not all of the clones. There's still a handful, like 8 or 9 of these clone Pokemon that are still able to battle with Mewtwo.
And then Double O Nine's like, oh, hey, just a heads up, the Mewtwo with his army is heading your way, and about the time she sends that message, the clones are like right there, and you know, and Domino's like, I've been expecting you. This little Nidoqueen is such a cutie, and Mewtwo's like, release that young one.
And it's from here that Giovanni's hovercraft flies over the trees to where Mewtwo is, and he comes out of his little cage thing that he keeps coming up from on the top of his hovercraft. And he's like, nice to see you, Mewtwo. And he's like, do I take it that you're willing to obey my commands now?
Never. I'd sooner rather leave this earth than to serve you.
He's like, I suggest you reconsider that, Mewtwo. If you choose to defy me, your fellow creations will all be used in our experiments and will certainly leave this world.
And Mewtwo,
Mewtwo is getting all sorts of pissed off at this point. And all the clone Pokemon that's around Mewtwo tells the clone Pokemon, stand away. I must submit to him. So it's at this point he's like, this is not meant to destroy you. This is simply to harness your abilities and to mold your will to my purpose. So we get 2 more of those little robots that shocked him initially, but it's now creating a bubble that Mewtwo is going to go into.
So, Domino's basically like, hey, you should do what we want or your little friends are going to pay the price. And she starts blasting the Pikachu, and they get knocked against a rock. And
with her Tulip.
And Tulip, I said Rose. And Mewtwo says, that's enough. I will do as you say. And the clone Pokemon part as Mewtwo begins to take a step towards the hovercraft, and the Pokemon are protesting, and the Pikachu are shaking their heads, and Meowth's like, they're telling you to stop, but you're going anyway. And he walks into the orb, and it floats up in the air, and Giovanni's like, now that's a good boy.
And Mewtwo tries to have the final line. He's like, you may control my body, but you will never control my will. And Giovanni's like, we'll soon see. And it's at this point Giovanni betrays Mewtwo's trust again. And the orb, which was blue surrounding Mewtwo, just picking up its body, then turns pink. And you can see that it starts shocking Mewtwo's body. And Mewtwo's like, I will not submit to you. And Giovanni's like, you are not strong, but pain makes the body master of the will. And he's
basically,
like, let's see how
long you struggle. And we can see Mewtwo's fighting it. And he goes, this is a lovely place. And, he said, I had a feeling you'd find
a pretty little hideaway. It's perfect for my next laboratory.
You watched Dexter as a kid.
I did. Laboratory.
And I'm going to create a vast army of the world's most powerful Pokemon. I'm going, didn't you do that in the movie? And then how did that work out for you?
He blew it up.
This isn't a prequel. This has already happened.
He looks at Mewtwo. He's like, together we will rule this world.
And we can see that, Mewtwo's still struggling, and the Pokemon that have been captured are being led into one area, and the humans see both Pikachu collapse, and they're like, oh, what did they do to you? It's like, well, what do you think they had a fucking tea party? Like, what the fuck?
And then Colin gets the bright idea of using the healing water samples that they have on the Pokemon to get them to regain their energy. So Luna grabs it and gives it to the Pikachu.
And they snap right back to life, basically. And it worked. And, but obviously they're still freaking trapped in the little zip ties.
Yes.
And Domino's like, quit your muttering and start walking. And
she's like, you can't stay here. We have a place all prepared for you.
And Cullen's like, oh yeah, where's that? And you smash cut to the door slamming, and they're all freaking crammed in that cell. And I'm sitting there looking at that Gyarados going, this isn't going to end well for somebody.
Gyarados is looking like, I can blast this cell open, right? Can't these Pokemon blast this thing open? It's only being held up by rock. I mean, you would suggest, well, maybe if they make too much of a ruckus, it will collapse on itself.
I was going to say it could jeopardize the structure of the mountain.
Yeah. So, but Domino basically says, we're going to leave you here, and there's a chance that you might not ever get out at all. And then we jump straight from that scene to Team Rocket building Giovanni's new laboratory, and they're getting things done quick. Like if only they can do this in the real world this quick.
And Domino's like, everything's going to plan. What's the status of Mewtwo? And Giovanni admits, he's like, Mewtwo's stronger than I realized. Its brainwaves aren't altered at the least. And
but he also says that if they keep straining on Mewtwo, they will end up destroying Mewtwo altogether.
And then Domino is like, you can't destroy it. It could take years to make another clone.
And Giovanni's like, I know that, but this has become a battle between Mewtwo's will and mine.
And he freaking, I'm guessing he slammed the. Well, he has a fucking. He broke the goddamn walkie-talkie.
Yeah,
something has to be looked at. He's not human. I mean, unless again it's cheap dollar store walkie-talkies, but I doubt it is.
I know, and for everybody that's not watching the movie along with us, he literally has it in his hand. And remember earlier in the movie where he had a whiskey glass and he broke it? He did the same thing to this damn walkie-talkie. And it must have caused a big loud noise on Domino's end because she was holding the walkie-talkie up to her ear, and she pulls it away. She's like, oh, that was a loud noise. Then she's like, well, don't take it out on me. And she's like, can't you two work faster? Put some elbow grease in it. And you see Jesse and James basically mopping and greasing up the floor to make it shine for this new laboratory.
And hurry it up, and they got the rags over their head, and Jesse's like, oh, we're gonna show her, boy. And we see that the machinery's working, but then we see a horde of Lydian.
Oh, hold on! You skipped an important moment. Right after we see Team Rocket, they give us a glimpse of the machinery and that they're pumping oil into the water, and we all know that they said that this water is nice and clean, and that's what causes its healing powers. What's going to happen now that they're pumping all this oil that's basically just spewing into this water? Doug?
Well, we kind of saw that nothing happened.
Well, we'll find out.
I mean, we'll find out in like 5 minutes. It ain't gonna anyway. So yeah, then we see a horde of Lydian and Butterfree and Beedrill and pretty much all the bug type Pokemon are coming, and they're having like a mass kind of like save the day maneuver, and Meowth's basically translating, and he's like, they
All
say
these
they're
Pokemon
coming
are
and they're
mad.
angry, and Ash is like, who's coming? Who's angry? Then we
He's
get
like,
the bug Pokemon, like dun dun dun,
and he's
and
like, they're mad because they're polluting the water and they're coming to stop them.
it's just this big swarm, and then we see that Giovanni's Persian kind of freaks out because he can hear the bugs first, and Giovanni's like, "What's happening?" And
Because all the Pokemon, all the Butterfree and Beedrill have just broken into the unfinished laboratory.
and we see that they're all using like
Sleep
sleep
powder.
powder, and one of the Team Rocket grunts that's working on the lab has a freaking blowtorch, and he drops it, and the flame is still going, and it smashes it into some tanks and causes another explosion. So I guess our theory about the structure of the mountain being compromised is kind of bunk because all it serves to do is blow open the freaking jail cells.
For real. And at this point, everyone's like, a way out. Now's our chance. Come on, everybody. And of course, Ash and Pikachu and all the clones and everybody, they're running out of here. And frickin' Colin, he's like, Luna, I'm going back that way just to be a nice little hero.
She
And
says,
she's
"I'm
like,
worried about the spring," and she's like, "Well, that's a fine idea. I'm going to go with you."
and then we get a bunch of the lady in surrounding Domino, and Domino takes her tulips and she just starts whipping them out of her pockets. She's like, you get one, you get one, you will get one. She turns into Oprah. She's like, you get a tulip, you get a tulip, everybody gets a tulip.
And she comes face to face with a Scyther, and she's kind of going, shot for shot, and she blocks him, and she goes, "You'll never stop the black tulip because I think on my feet." And she hops over this horde of Lydian, and she starts slipping on the floor that
Just has
Team
been
Rocket
greased.
mopped, and she's like doing this big, and she just face plants into this bucket, and Jesse comes in and says, "What
This
happened,
is
Domino? When we first came in, you were looking so good, but now you're a little pale." And like,
because she has a pail on her head. Get it? Ba-bum.
and so Domino's been dealt with, and we're at pardon me, we're at the stream with Colin and Luna, and the water seems to be fine. Oh, thank goodness! And then we see Mewtwo is able to see that everybody got out safe, and
He's like, I'm glad you are safe.
he says,
He's
"But
like,
I can't hold on to this much longer." And
Ash is like,
Ash calls
too.
him, and he's like, "How do you know my name?" And
He's like, we heard it from Meowth. He's like,
and
and
he's
Meowth told us you're the one who saved Pikachu. There's got to be some way that we can help you now. And Mewtwo bowing down to the humans. He's like, stop these machines. And Misty's like, Brock, maybe there's a cutoff switch on these machines somewhere. And Brock's like, there's no use. They're all sealed up. And Ash it becomes the hero, and he's like, then we will break it ourselves. And he goes and he runs into the machine head first, and Brock and Ash are just shoulder thumping this machine. And Brock's like, hit it harder. Boom, boom, boom. And all the Pokemon are now hitting the machine over, and this machine must be heavy. And then you get both the Meowths, both the Pikachus, Ash and Brock go in for one final blow and just boom. And they knock the machine over on its side, but it doesn't do any good because all it does is just move the laser from that's around Mewtwo to the other side of Mewtwo, but it's still on him. And Brock's like, we can't stop it. And Mewtwo's like, I must use the remaining of my power. Either these machines will be destroyed or it will be me. And Mewtwo starts using its psychic power to then over what seems to be overheating the machines, but overheating itself. Doug?
So he's straining, and then we can see that the machines are kind of starting to kind of give as well. And Ash tells the Pikachu to use their Thunderbolts, and the combination of the machines overheating and the double shot of Thunderbolt completely fry the machines. Mewtwo collapses on the sand, and he says, "You have beaten it, but I have destroyed myself." And the Pikachu are frantic. They're like, "No, no, 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 no! You got to get to the stream. You got to get to the stream." And Meowth is relaying the message, and Brock says, "Well, it did revive Pikachu. Maybe it'll help Mewtwo." And
Ash becomes the hero, and they start picking up. Well, not just Ash, but they all three of them start picking up Mewtwo. But Giovanni finally makes up. Giovanni looks weird when it's his whole entire body being shown. He's like,
right.
He's like, Mewtwo belongs to me, and I alone will be the one to decide its fate. And Misty and Brock then go, well, the hell you will. And they get their Pokemon out and they throw their Pokemon. So we get, let's see, which Pokemon do we have? We have Onix, Golbat, Poliwrath, Staryu, Goldeen, Geodude, and Pineco.
And I'm guessing the Pineco is the one that came out of the
special
Pokeball with the, yeah.
Yes.
And so they're all out there, and then Meowth sees Team Rocket, and he's like, "Oh, hi, it's been a minute. How you been?" And James is like, "We can't let the boss see us. He might do something radical, like ask for our expense report."
And Meowth just flies right in, and Jesse's like, "Come on, let's find a place to hide until this whole thing cools down." And then Team Rocket goes and starts running away. And it's at this point Brock looks back at Ash and goes, "Ash, you take Mewtwo to the spring. We will handle the battle here." And Giovanni just gets pissed off.
He goes, "No!" And all the freaking clone Pokemon rise up, and he goes, "Oh, so you wish to define me like your master did, huh?"
I will crush
or
all of you.
Your leader, I should say. There is no master in this situation.
And then it's at this point we switch scenes again, and we see that Ash has brought out Bulbasaur and Chikorita again to help hold up Mewtwo, and Ash is climbing the long staircase with Mewtwo on its back, and Mewtwo's like, "Why are you helping me?" And Ash is like, "For one thing, you saved Pikachu, and that's a good enough reason for me to be helping you right now."
And Mewtwo says, "The only one." And Ash goes, "Do you always have to have a reason to help someone?"
And Mewtwo's like, "Perhaps you are unique. A unique human. One of a kind."
And Ash goes, "You're one of a kind too. Everyone is."
Just being the good old 10-year-old he is.
Mewtwo says, "I do not know what I am, but soon it may not matter." And he's being dragged to the freaking the spring, and Ash says, "This is Mewtwo. It's real weak and it needs to get in the spring, and if not, it's not going to make it." And they're trying to stop him because he said, "Don't get that Pokemon near the water. It might contaminate the spring." So I was about ready to freaking pop Colin.
I was about to say he's saying that Mewtwo might contaminate the water, but didn't he just come up with the idea 5 minutes ago about using the water on the Pikachu?
Save the Pikachu, yeah.
So fuck you, Colin. And Ash is like, "This water has minerals humans need." He's like, "I'm sorry, but right now the one who needs the water the most is Mewtwo, and I'm not gonna let him die." And he just
chucks him in. So he must have been like super, like almost dead on his feet, because at this point it looked like Chikorita and Bulbasaur had quit holding him up.
I know.
So he must have just been out. So he just chucks him, and Mewtwo starts to sink, but we can tell that he's processing, because he goes, "I've seen this place.
I've been here before." And it's at this point he's like, "Was it in my dreams?" And He's like, but this was no dream. I feel new life rising with me. And then we get a shot in this, the only shot of Mew that we get in this whole entire movie. Because, of course, we need Mew in this movie if Mewtwo's going to be in it.
He says, if these waters have the same restoring effect on me
as they do on other Pokemon who belong to this world, he's like, could it be that this world is my rightful place too? So he's now putting two and two together. He's like, if this water can heal me the same way it heals regular Pokemon, then maybe this world is for me. Doug.
And then he opens his eyes, and then we go back to the surface, and we see an energy ball go crashing into the side of the mountain, and Ash goes, they're here. And we see the hovercraft floating over the water, and Giovanni says, tell me where Mewtwo is. Rachel, and
Colin's like, stop it. You can't come here and destroy the spring. And Giovanni says, yes, I can. This place belongs to me.
And about that point, Mewtwo comes springing up, R-E-Y, Mysterio. And he says, you will not defile this place. It does not belong to you.
And he's like, any more than I do. And he gets his freaking psychic powers, and Mewtwo is like, bah!
Just completely just murks everything. And Meowth says, what is happening? And Mewtwo says, this place is giving me new life. And a big old shot of energy goes shooting up into the sky. It spreads over the water. And he goes, now I shall use my power to defend it. And the beam gets wider, and
we get a shot of just everything just going to shit, just boom, and then the beam is no longer here.
And then we're at nighttime, and we see that the stream is gone, and the helicopters have crashed, and
Giovanni, everybody was knocked out, and then it's at this point that they're now waking up. And everyone's crashed. Everyone's looking around confused. Giovanni gets up and he's like, what's happened here? What's going on? Why is everyone standing around? He's like, where is Mewtwo? And Luna and Colin are waking up as well. And they're like, is everything, are you okay? And Colin's like, we may be in luck. We may be able to create a synthetic version inside of the lab. Because he grabs a sample of the water that Luna still has. Doug?
Yeah, he says, maybe we can create a synthetic version of this lake. And I'm going, fuck. And Luna says, well, that's wonderful, but I wonder what happened to all the Pokemon. And we pan down and we find out that Mewtwo used his powers to relocate the lake under Mount Quina. And he says, I will, what's he say?
They will be protected here.
They will be protected. And then Ash goes, wait until I tell
Professor Oak all about this.
Professor Oak about this. And Mewtwo just matter-of-factly says, you will tell no one.
Once you, and then this is where we get basically the ending to the Pokemon movie, but this is how they kind of fixed things, because they figured out at the end of Mewtwo Strikes Back that they kind of fucked themselves a little bit. So I feel like this whole movie was made for this one scene right here, and Mewtwo is like, you will tell no one. Once you leave this place, you must leave behind your memories of me and all you have seen here. And it's at this point Ash is like, you're gonna make us forget? And Meowth,
he should have said again, but that would have opened up a whole nother fucking line equation. No. And then Meowth pops out from behind a rock and says, you can't do that.
And Jesse's like, Meowth, be quiet. Don't stick your nose into this, Meowth.
He says, this has nothing to do with my nose. This is about what all the other Pokemon are saying. And they're all nodding in agreement. And they said, it's only natural to wonder about who and where you came from. And he says, one day these little ones, he's standing in between the baby Nidoqueens and Rhyhorns. And one day these little ones will want some answers.
Oh,
And
I finally put two and two together.
oh boy.
So the baby needle queens, the reason they're baby needle queens is because they were born from a clone needle queen. So at that point, the genetics are only of the needle queen. It's not of any previous baby forms. So when they make babies, they're they'll make babies of their actual forms. Oh, that's kind of fucked up a little bit.
It is. It is.
So I wish it worked that way in the damn Pokemon games.
And anyway, so Meowth's saying, up until today, if these kids ask questions, there won't be any answers. Um, he says, and we see Meowth get a little emotional, and he says,
So what if their parents were clones? They're all living creatures. And then he's like, they deserve to live. They deserve to know about themselves just as much as you, me, or anybody does. Meowth can be really, really like keen when he really wants to. He's like, that's what we think as Pokemon. And his Meowth clone's like, meow.
and then Ash goes, I think we should remember too. Meowth is right.
Ash just doesn't want his mind erased, unbeknownst to him again.
Again, right. And Brock says, just because things are forgotten didn't mean they happen. Misty says, I don't think everyone deserves to know. She says,
don't you think everyone deserves to know who they are and where they came from? And then you get Togepi, and because we still don't know where Togepi is from.
Right. And then Mewtwo has a moment. He's like, yes, they deserve to remember.
And he's like, if we are able to look to the future as other Pokemon do, we must also be able to look to the past. He's like, the shame that past is not ours. He's like, it belongs to those who use our past to set us apart. So he's now finally come to terms and grips, which we thought happened in the damn Pokemon movie. And then he reverted back. So hopefully his ass doesn't do it again. Because we thought we thought this at the end of the Mewtwo Strikes Back.
Well, this is also before we knew about this movie.
Yeah, true.
He says this is a healing place. He says I will only clear the memories of those who seek to destroy them. And we see a lovely shot of the Butterfree
using
once
their
again.
sleep powder again.
And it's taking out all the Team Rocket goons. It's taking out Giovanni and Domino. And we get a shot of Mewtwo saying, only they shall forget.
And I want to point out that, yes, he is wiping the minds of Luna and Cullen. But the only reason he's doing that is because he doesn't want them to remember anything about regenerating this water, because it can only...
Right.
Because if they do that, there's only going to be more questions asked, and then they'll be right back at this at some point in the future as well.
Yeah, Cullen can go fuck himself.
Yeah.
Scruffy old. Get a shave.
So we find out that Mewtwo, once he put everybody to sleep, has transported Giovanni and all of his goons back to the Team Rocket, one of his headquarters. And they're waking up. He's like, 009, where are we? What's the combat unit doing? And she's like, maybe
she says, we must be on a secret mission.
Yeah. He's like, what kind of secret mission? She's like, I don't know any more than you, but if you don't get out of here.
If we don't get out of here, it won't be a secret much longer.
He's like, we should withdraw our forces at once. It's strange, but I have a feeling I have been utterly defeated. And Persian's like, Persian?
That was good. Just starts having a bath. And then we see we're back at the waterfall. and we see all the cloned Pokemon are seeing their way out, and
Yes.
Team Rocket's Meowth is saying goodbye to the clones Meowth,
And we find
and
out that Mewtwo has made a Pikachu balloon, very similar to the Team Rocket Meowth balloon.
I didn't care for that.
Oh, come on! How are they supposed to get off the island?
How did they get off the island in the movie?
Oh, true. He teleported them.
So
Mewtwo looks over at everyone. He's like, "Thank you. I will remember you always." And Ash uses the corny line, "This time we'll both be able to remember." So I'm sure at this point Ash was told, well, everyone was told that they had met before. I'm sure that conversation has been had while Team Rocket was doing their thing.
And Ash's Pikachu says goodbye to the clone Pikachu. Mewtwo, the clone Pikachu, and Meowth are the last three to float away. And Mewtwo's final speech is, "If someday you hear my voice, know that it is my spirit,
calling across time and space to yours."
And we watch them
separate into the moon.
And we see the hot air balloons against the moon, and then we fade back, and
it's at this point that we're back to the monthly bus coming down the hill, and the bus driver is like, Luna called and said you might need a ride back to the city.
And Cullen's like, actually, I'm not going. Luna and I found out we have more in common than... What's he say? What's that stupid shit he says? We have more in common besides research, and they smile at each. They're fucking, basically.
Yeah. They had sex.
And we see our heroes are walking as three faces in a faceless crowd, in big city, high rise, and everything. And
then we hear Mewtwo's voice again that says, I will remember
you.
And Ash turns around in the big crowd. He looks up, and Missy's like, what's wrong, Ash? And Ash is like, I know it might be impossible, guys, but I could have sworn I just heard Mewtwo talking.
And then he looks up and he goes,
maybe it was just my memory. And that is how we end the movie. And then we have the narrator taking us out. And Mewtwo is standing up on top of a pole.
He's doing his best Batman cosplay.
Yeah. Just looking off into the far distance at the world that he has now come to grips with is not so bad after all. And then we go straight into the credits.
Well, let's give props to the narrator, because he's got a pretty good get out of here line. He says, but in a faraway city, stories are told of a mysterious Pokemon who roams freely, but always by moonlight. And then credits. And like I say, I wish we would have gotten like one original song or something.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they put decent money into this movie, but remember, they didn't really advertise. I mean, I feel like this was just a rushed dub, to be honest, because something tells me they probably wouldn't have even brought it here to the U.S. Because, I mean, or maybe they did. I mean, I don't remember there being. I feel like I would have known that there were commercials for this movie, because I would have gone out and bought it. I think they would have sold a lot if they would have just played it on Kids WB. Oh, there's a new Pokemon special, but you can only watch it if you go to your local Toys R Us or comic book store and go and buy it.
That would have gotten some traffic.
Yeah. So, but all right, Doug. what would you give this movie on your Dogometer? Because I know exactly what I would give it out of 5 stars.
Oh, you're not going to give it 5 stars.
I'm not giving it 5. I'm giving it 4. It's a nice story.
I would say that's fair. I go 4. I think I would be splitting hairs if I went 3.5.
So yeah, I feel like we got a nice story. There was Team Rocket. There was a lot of battling. We got like mythical Pokemon badassery. We saw Mewtwo actually get defeated for once and then come back to fucking life. It was just fucking awesome.
It was.
So, all right, everybody. As I stated prior to that, I have 3 Pokemon packs that I'm going to open up for you real quick because this podcast has been going on long enough. So here we go. I'm going to open my first Darkness Ablaze pack. It looks like it might be a dud because I got a black promo card on the inside. But I have a Dark Energy, a Simipour, Corvisquer. I hope I pronounced that right. Lunatone, an Electric, a Galarian Mr. Mime, a Grimer, a Clink, a Skitty, a Reverse Hollow Combuskin, and my rare is a Muck, everybody. So that's the first one. So yeah, kind of a dud pack. Let's go ahead and open up the second Darkness Ablaze pack. Oh, this pack seems like it was already kind of open.
Oh.
No, yeah, I mean it's a legit pack. Oh, okay. I got a white card, everybody, which means that this pack must be good. Let's pray. Let's fingers crossed. I got a Water Energy, another Simipour, another Lunatone, a Dartrix, a Cubchoo, a Wimpod, a Bunnelby, Toxel, a Cinstia, a Reverse Hollow Shelmet, and I have a Hollow Tyranitar. That's a nice badass Tyranitar. So that is a win. So I at least got one win on this podcast, everybody. Now, what is this last one going to have for us? This one opened pretty easily too. All right. And I got a black card. So I'm guessing a dud pack, but we'll see what I get in here. I have a Psychic Energy, a Glimwood Tangle Trainer card. It says, once during each player's turn, after a player flips any coin for an attack, they may ignore all results of those coin flips and begin flipping those coins again. I have another Simipour, a Larian, another Cubchoo, another Wimpod, another Bunnelby, another Toxel, another Cinstia, a Reverse Hollow Flampy, and a Hydreigon is my rare. So I'm going to call that a win because I like this Hydreigon, even though it's not a hollow. But those are the 3 Pokemon packs for this movie. Thank you, everybody, for sticking by this movie. I know we stated that it wasn't going to be a 3-hour podcast, and it's not, but it's damn near close to it because it's a little over 2.5 hours. But Merry Christmas, everybody that is listening to this podcast. And we wanted to wait until the end of this podcast for a treat for those who listen to this podcast all the way through. But starting in 2022 in January, we are going to be only dropping 1 episode of our show per week. And we will be doing alternating weeks between Black and White and the Kanto region. So 1 week you'll get a Kanto catch-up episode, and then the following week you will be getting a Black and White episode. And you're probably wondering why we're doing this. Personally, I'm getting ready to be returning back to work pretty soon. So it's going to be pretty hectic rolling out these episodes the way that we have been during this pandemic. But we thank all of you that have stuck by us through this pandemic.
Well, you phrased it funny.
How did I phrase it?
You said I've got a treat for you. We're going once a week because you've been bad children.
But yeah, no, it is a treat. I mean, we're still keeping up with the show. You are still getting your weekly fix of the every Pokemon episode ever. But we're just gonna be breaking up instead of getting 2 episodes a week.
We're breaking up.
What's up?
We're breaking up.
No.
Oh God.
You found another co-host on Fridays, Doug, and I found another one on Tuesdays. I'm sorry, man.
Fuck it, I'm doing that Digimon fight.
But yeah, everybody, follow us on @PokeBreakdown. I'm not sure what day we're going to be dropping these episodes. I'm guessing we're leaning more towards Friday, our Friday drop, which everybody has come accustomed to. But I will be talking it over with Doug. And next week is going to be your final week that you're getting 2 episodes. So don't miss those episodes for our update on our 2022 schedule. Doug, do you have anything else to add before we go off into the sunset, my brother?
Happy Kwanzaa. No, I mean it's kind of crazy to be saying, Merry Christmas, considering that we're just coming out of the haze that was Halloween.
I know.
But yeah, it's another year in the books. I kind of feel like we got back to some type of normalcy. So
yes,
hopefully we'll all continue to make strides as we head into 2022.
Absolute. So, all right, with all that being said, Doug, go ahead and give your goodbye, Doug.
Goodbye, Doug.
And this is Wrestling Chris G. Again, thanking all of you for sticking with us through this pandemic. Have a good night, and we will see you on the other side.